Hey everybody, I wish everything is fine with you. Today we're going to talk about numerical data types in Python. Generally, there are two types of data types or numerical data types in Python. Integers and floats. We have something like complex too, but mainly there are integers and floats, and we deal with these two types most of the times. To start, any whole number, like let's say 3 or 5 or 10 or 1,000, everything, any whole number is an integer. So let's say, for example, var int, let's say 5, and if we print the type of this variable var int, let's see, it says int. It means this number is an integer, and if I change it to something like this, still it is integer. You see, there's another type of numbers in Python, and that is floats. Let's say var float. Floats are any decimal numbers with a point in it, like 1.5, or let's say 2.69512. If I print the type of this variable, let's say type var float, and if I run it, you see it says float. So any number with a point in it is a float. Special thing about these data types and these numbers are that you can do any operational or any mathematical operations on them. For example, we can say, let's say summation, let's call it summation. Yeah, we want to sum, I guess, the float number with the integer number plus var int. And if I print summation, let's print the type 2, print type summation. Let's see what happens. These two numbers are added to each other. Okay, let's change it to a simpler number, and okay, and now run it. You see 2.6 blah 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 is added, or 5 is added to 2.6 blah blah blah, and we have 7.69512. and the type, let's remove this print, and now type is float. So adding an integer to a float will result in a float. But if we add two integer numbers, let's say we have our integer, another integer here, for example 2, and now running this code will result in an integer. So integer with integer results in an integer. Another thing that you have to know is that you cannot concatenate or add integers or floats to strings or other types of data. For example, let's say another summation 2, for example, although this is not a good name. We want to add, for example, our var int, which is 5, to and a string of 2. In this case, we get an error because string is another type of data and var int is an integer. So a string and an integer cannot be added to each other. To fix this, you can, for example, convert this string to a number. So now it will add these two numbers together. Oh, I didn't print that. Let's say print. What's wrong? Print summation 2 and print. I'm sorry. Type summation 2. Okay, now let's run it. You see, these two numbers are added to each other and the result is an integer. There's no error. Or we can change this, or I mean var int, to a string, although we are not talking about strings and concatenating strings in this video, but let's see what happens. It added two strings to each other, and there's a 5 and there's a 2, so it's 52, but this 52 is not a number, it's a string. Okay, so concatenating strings will result in strings, although the characters are numerical, but they are defined as strings in double quotation or like this. There are some other types of operations you can do, like multiplying, or for example, let's copy this one, and I want to multiply, for example, var 2 with 2. So our var int was 5, and adding it, multiplying it to 2 will result in 10, and the data type is integer. So let's see the results. Subtraction, it is -3 because 2 minus 5 is -3 and it is integer, so we can see that negative numbers are integers too. The result of this operation is 0.4, so 5 divided by 2 results in 0.4, and 0.4 has a point, so it is a float. And doing this operation, you see, we get 32. 2 to the power of 5 is 32, and 32 has no points in it, so it's an integer. We can use hexadecimals too. For example, I can say hexa is equal to 0x10, and if I print this, print hexa and type hexa to see what data type it is, hexa. We see this hexadecimal number 0x10 is 16, and its type is integer. And let's see an example of complex number. We can say comp, for example. I'm not using good names today. Let's say 2j, for example, and print comp and type comp So let's see the result. 2j is a complex number, and we can use all of these data types, these numerical data types and operations to create programs. That's it for today. In future, we will talk about strings and other data types like lists, sequential data types like lists, tuples, and other things. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button to see all the future videos as soon as they're published. Thank you a lot and have a nice day.